Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday service of the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Thank you so much for making time on this holiday weekend to be with us. If you're new to our community or you're visiting for the very first time, you are especially welcome here today. Please take time to visit our website, slcuu.org, or our social media channels to learn more about our faith, our church, and how you can get involved. Just a couple of announcements before we get underway this morning. First, and most important, it has been so long since we were together in person. And so starting next Sunday, we will begin holding worship services outdoors on the plaza here on our church grounds if the weather holds. There will be 2 services, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and seating will be limited to 50 attendees at each service so that we can provide for physical distancing on the plaza. Masks will be required for everyone who attends, and we will have N95 masks here to sell at cost for anyone who doesn't have one or who wants to upgrade. Now, we're asking that those who wish to attend in person will acquire a ticket using Eventbrite, and you'll find the link in your Torch email on Friday. Using ticketing helps us to create a list of attendees for contact tracing, and it helps us hold on to that 50-person cap. If you're not able to get a ticket for this week, you'll be put onto a wait list and given the first shot at a ticket for the following week. And we're asking folks who get a ticket for this week to be kind and consider giving other folks a chance for next week. The name of the game is Embracing Imperfection. All of this is an experiment, and we expect to learn things at each service that will help us make the next one better. So we're asking each of you to be patient with the staff, the board, and the reopening team as we make adjustments and learn from the process. Thank you. Next, it's August, which means it is the time of year when we fill out all the forms. Registration is open for children's religious education, so if your kiddos are going to participate in RE this year, whether in person or online, please get their registration filled out as soon as you can. I'm also pleased to announce that registration is now open for small group ministry. You can find the link to the registration form in the Torch email or on our website on the small group ministry page. Now, this is really important. It doesn't matter whether you've participated in small group ministry for 10 years or if this is your first year. Everyone needs to register so that we have your most up-to-date information and so we can get you in the right group. So please register as soon as you can. And now, we quiet our hearts, quiet our bodies, and we will begin our service with the lighting of the chalice. Today with these words by the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. I will make of myself a high priest of truth. This I do when I use my talents to enrich life, to render life more human, to make life more gracious and personal than it would be otherwise. I shall make it my study to preserve my soul in balance and in liberty. I will use my memory to store up the excellent things of my experience. In this way, I shall lay up treasures in heaven.
Today, for our Time for All Ages, I have a book to share with you. It's a book about someone who's on a path to find themselves. It is Thelma the Unicorn, and it's written by Aaron Blabey. I hope you enjoy.
Thelma the Unicorn by Aaron Blabey. Thelma felt a little sad. In fact, she felt forlorn. You see, she wished with all her heart to be a unicorn. Her best friend's name was Otis. He liked her quite a lot. He said, "You're perfect as you are." But Thelma said, "I'm not." And that was when she saw it, a carrot on the ground. It gave her such a great idea. She squealed and jumped around. She took the simple carrot and she tied it to her nose. "I'll say that I'm a unicorn. It might just work. Who knows?" Well, as she did, a truck drove by. The driver rubbed his eyes. "Good grief! Is that a unicorn?" he shrieked in great surprise. As Thelma watched the swerving truck, it nearly hit her. Would you believe that truck was filled with nice pink paint and glitter? Oh, Thelma! She looked amazing. She was a unicorn. "I'm special now!" she cried out loud. And so a star was born. All across the whole wide world, her fans would cheer her name. Thelma loved it, every bit. The fame, the fame, the fame! Thelma was a superstar. Her dreams had all come true, but soon she found that so much fame was kinda tricky too. You see, her fans were mad for her. They'd scream and cry and laugh. They'd chase her everywhere she went to get her autograph. In fact, they chased her all day long. It never, ever stopped. They chased her while she exercised. They chased her while she shopped. "Please don't chase me anymore," she asked the screaming crowd. "We'll chase you all we want," they said. "We're fans, so it's allowed." And some were not her fans at all. No, some were really mean. And some just did the meanest things she'd really ever seen. So one dark night, she felt quite sad, this famous little pony. She said, "I thought that I'd feel great, but all I feel is lonely." And so with that, she changed her mind, this lonely unicorn. She cleaned off all her sparkles, and she ditched her magic horn. And then she walked right past the crowd. They didn't even notice. She thought about how nice it would be to see her lovely Otis. And when he asked about her trip beneath their favorite tree, she simply said, "Oh, it was fun, but I'd rather just be me."
Thanks, Amanda. Good morning. I wish you all here were with me because then this next part would be a lot easier. Singing hymns. We've had a lot of feedback from folks that have said that they've missed that from our virtual services. I've missed it too. So what we've tried to do as we start this new year is incorporate some hymnody into our Sunday morning virtual services. Those of you who maybe previewed the online version already, you've seen how this is going to work. And from last week when we had the delightful Mokoena Molokolo sing with us, we saw what she can do with the hymn. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drop those recordings in this morning's service. Tristan has masterfully post-produced those, so you're going to get the music and the words and Mokoena up on your screen. That's the best way to do it. Now, if you have your hymnals at home, you can get those out and sing along with us too. Because of the way that time works on video, we're not going to do the whole hymns. We're just going to do one or two verses or whatever is being broadcast above with Mokoena. Over time, we'll probably also switch out cantors just to make it fun and interesting. Try this with us. Let us know how you feel about it. We hope it works. Start singing. Bye.
and the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what the world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
I invite you now to join with me in a spirit of prayer, meditation, or reflection. Great love that surrounds us and will not let us go. Let us rest here a moment in your presence. Be for us today a space where we can set down the great burdens we've been carrying, the heavy sadness of the world about which we feel powerless to save. Help us to hold our helpless grief for the people of Afghanistan, especially the women and children of Afghanistan, who are setting down long-held dreams of freedom. Help us to hold still our helpless grief for the people of Haiti, who suffer under the crushing weight of poverty, environmental disaster, and political unrest. Help us to hold our helpless, furious grief for the people of Texas, a state that claims to so highly value personal liberty now find themselves with so little of it. Help us to hold our helpless grief as we watch wildfires continue to consume the West, choking the air, destroying the forests, endangering our beloveds. And help us to hold our helpless grief as COVID continues to consume our nation, the unvaccinated, the chronically ill, the unlucky. As we hold all this, remind us that we hold it all together. We are not alone in our grief. We are not alone in our fight to repair this world. And we will not be alone in the future we are building together. We are not alone. We are not alone. Give our hearts this comfort, this reassurance. We are not alone. Amen. When I was a kid, there was a certain evening routine in our home. Maybe you had a similar routine. We'd get home from school and do our homework. Mom and Dad would come home, change out of their work clothes, and Mom would start supper. Then after we ate supper together, we'd all sit down around the television and watch the evening news, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy! We loved to compete against each other as a family with a gentle rivalry of who could be fastest with the answers. We didn't go so far as to make each other answer in the form of a question, which is the rules of Jeopardy! In fact, the most heartbreaking moments of the show for me were the moments when a contestant had the right answer, but forgot to phrase it in the form of a question. It was like watching the kicker miss the winning field goal. So close, and yet so far. Tragic. It was just as heartbreaking. Earlier this year, when the host of Jeopardy!, Alex Trebek, died of pancreatic cancer. His, like Pat Sajak's and Peter Jennings, was the face of my childhood in a way. These men of calm demeanor and steady authority, whose nightly appearances on television created a reliable heartbeat for my growing up. Trebek was knowledgeable, friendly, and unfailingly fair, qualities which aren't found in everyone, yet are universally appreciated. I was very sorry to see him go. Yet, I was excited about the prospect of a new quizmaster, and some of the applicants were also beloved characters of television from my childhood. Mayim Bialik, Katie Couric, LeVar Burton. Other celebrities put their hat in the ring. Dr. Oz, Sanjay Gupta, the football star Aaron Rodgers, and more, all to be auditioned by executive producer Mike Richards. Yet at the end of weeks of auditions, among a diverse and multi-talented cohort of would-be quizmasters, it was determined that the new host of Jeopardy! Would be none other than Richards himself. Predictably, the internet exploded in outrage as yet another middle-aged white guy somehow ended up in the job that everybody wanted. Not to suggest middle-aged white guys can't or shouldn't get the job, except when it's the guy running the auditions and choosing the audition tapes that the judges will see, and then magically, none of the candidates work out, and the guy in charge promotes himself, well, it started to sound like a very familiar story. But it got worse. A journalist who has loved and reported on Jeopardy! For years and wrote a book on the subject discovered that Richards had made crass and insensitive remarks on his podcast about his female coworkers and about unsheltered people and overweight people and, well, you get the idea. They were the kind of things that no one should ever say, much less in public. But even more than that, they were the kind of things that Alex Trebek would never say. Because Alex Trebek was one of the good guys. He was a person of character and depth who showed up for his job faithfully every day and who famously insisted that the real stars of Jeopardy! Were the contestants. Far cry from Richards, who could only see one star in the Jeopardy! Sky, himself. Now, it's easy for most of us to think of ourselves as the hero of our own story. Human beings are storytelling animals, and our own story is the story we know and love the best. We see ourselves mirrored in the stories we find around us, stories from the books we read and the shows and movies we watch, to the stories of people around us. We listen to these stories, and the parts that ring the truest, the parts we tend to remember and respond to, are the parts that resonate with our own stories. How often do we listen to a friend tell us a story about something that happened to them, and we hear ourselves say, "I know just how you feel, the same thing happened to me." Fewer of us, I think, are inclined to see ourselves as tragic heroes. Aristotle defined the tragic hero in his Poetics over 2,000 years ago as a character who has a fatal flaw, a character flaw, one which ultimately brings his downfall. Often the flaw is hubris, an arrogance that leads to defiance of the gods, and the gods in turn bring balance to the world by sending the hero's nemesis to bring him down. Now, I hear that, and I think, I do not hear anything in that story that I want to be a part of. No thank you to being a tragic hero. And Aristotle tells us that's exactly how you're supposed to feel. The tragic hero should evoke pity and fear in the audience. Pity when the hero experiences undeserved misfortune, but fear when the hero experiences their comeuppance, not superiority and not judgment, but fear. We are meant to watch the tragic hero meet their nemesis and think, that could easily be me. So when we hear a story like this about Mike Richards having the hubris to conduct a 12-week series of auditions for the most desired role on television and then hire himself in the end, we might be inclined to think, who raised this boy? Didn't anyone ever tell him no in his life? Has he ever heard of white privilege? We might even be tempted to think we would never do something like that. But if Aristotle were telling the story, he would be warning us, you too are Mike Richards. Aristotle wants you to be quivering in fear as you ask yourself, how am I just like Mike Richards? How am I engaging in hubris that challenges the gods, that threatens the natural order of things? How are the gods about to lay me low? What nemesis is just around the corner? Most of us gave up believing in divine retribution a long time ago, and so maybe we let ourselves have a little laugh at the idea of being struck by lightning as we head home from our latest heroic exploits. But the truth is that each of us has a fatal flaw, or maybe several, that keep us from being our best selves. And only if we are honest enough to look for it and to let ourselves see it can we manage it. Of course, we already know who our nemesis is. It's us. We are our own worst enemies sometimes. We say things we don't mean. We do things we don't mean to do. The same unhelpful things sometimes that we've been saying and doing for years. We can see ourselves doing it, just like watching a movie scene in slow motion, but damn it if we don't do it again anyway. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, but she's not talking about me, come on now, you know you do, we all do. We drive our partners, our parents, and our kids crazy with the thoughtless things we say or do. We find ourselves locked into patterns of behavior that feel like dances we can't control. We take our step, then our partner takes their predictable step, and pretty soon we're having the same argument we've been having for 20 years. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza said, "To be what we are and to become what we are capable of becoming is the only end of life." If that's true, then what are we becoming? Are we aware of what we have become and what we are becoming? Do you think Mike Richards always dreamed of becoming so supremely unself-aware that he could see no talent outside himself? I can't imagine that he did. So what went wrong? When the author Martha Beck speaks to audiences, she sometimes starts her lecture by asking if everyone is comfortable. Are you comfortable right now? Usually the folks in front of her say, "Sure, yes, we're comfortable." She asks again, "Are you comfortable? Are you sure?" "Yes." The audience nods their heads. "We're fine." But now they're a little less sure. This feels like it's going someplace. Then Beck asks the audience if they were listening to this lecture at home, would they be sitting in the same position that they're sitting in now? Now the listeners have to admit they're not quite as comfortable as they might be. How are you sitting right now? Are you on your couch with your feet up on the coffee table or ottoman, or maybe tucked up underneath you? Are you sitting bolt upright in a chair, or are you leaning against a cushion? We've been taught that there's a proper way to sit in a chair in public, though it's slightly uncomfortable. So we just tell ourselves that we're comfortable, sitting upright with our feet on the ground. And we'd probably tell someone else that too if they asked, without giving it much thought. Beck writes that most people tell little lies like this all the time to themselves and to others. We're fine, we're comfortable, harmless lies that make the world run more smoothly, lies that let others off the hook, lies that let ourselves off the hook. And she acknowledges that most of them are probably not any big deal, and yet they do build up to something. Like a pilot flying a great distance, a course error of half a degree is easily corrected, but such a change every few minutes would have them flying halfway around the world and never reaching their destination. How many little lies did Mike Richards tell himself during his career in order to arrive at the place where he did? How many little lies does it take to find ourselves unrecognizable, miles away from the person we wanted to be in life? Martha Beck decided that she would go one whole year without telling a single lie, no matter how small. She had grown up in the Latter-day Saints tradition, was very devoted to it, but had grown so accustomed to telling these little lies to herself and to others that she found she was unable to face herself. Small lies like, "Of course I'm happy in this marriage." "No, really, I actually am heterosexual." "If I follow all the rules of my religion, I'll be rewarded and loved. If I stay quiet and don't make waves, I'll have peace." Giving up the little lies like "I'm comfortable" shocked Beck into realizing how much of her life was built on lies. The emotional pain of a hard truth, she says, is eased by our soul's response to aligning with reality. Around and beyond mere emotion, we feel a sense of freedom, a vast openness that includes all aspects of our experience. We connect with an unalterable stillness around and within us. There's space for pain. There's space for joy. Far from self-defeating, Beck suggests, facing the truth about ourselves makes room in our lives for deep peace rooted in self-respect. This practice is not just for people who are facing mountains of lies beyond which they can go no further. It is a practice for each of us, a spiritual practice that lasts our whole life long. We might find the word lies to be a bit dramatic, yet we do recognize the untruths, the half-truths, the little slips of integrity that drag us just a half a degree off course. Each day we can ask ourselves, where are the places in my life where I'm not quite who I want to be? What am I telling myself in order to keep myself or others comfortable? And what, as a result, am I becoming? It is said that the great minister and mystic, the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, when inquiring into the well-being of his parishioners, would ask them, "How are you?" And he would patiently listen to them as they told their series of little lies. "I'm fine, I'm just busy, I'll get by." And then he would ask, "How are you really?" Thurman was also an educator, serving as the dean of the chapel at Boston University for many years, and he would ask his students, "Who are you really? And what do you want really?" Thurman had a way of not letting those in his orbit get away with letting little lies steal their lives and passions. So when is the last time that you asked yourself, "Who am I really?" When have you dared to stop and be honest about the question, "How am I really?" What are the little stories you're telling yourself in order to get by from one day to the next? And when have you last asked another person how they're doing really, and then taken all the time it took to listen to the answer? This is the practice that keeps us on track in our lives, truth-telling and truth-hearing. We hear a lot of talk about holding one another accountable in community, but it doesn't always have to look like enforcement. It must also look like compassion, compassion for ourselves, giving ourselves permission to tell the truth about our lives, and giving others permission to tell the truth about theirs. Creating spaces where truth, even difficult truth, is welcome and honored. That's how we build communities in which we can be our best selves. Church can be a community in which we live in integrity, seeking truth, and asking those in community with us to hold us to our own expectations. Church is not meant to be a place to be comfortable. It's meant to be a place of creative, compassionate, loving discomfort, where all our answers come in the form of questions, and where each of us can be a high priest of truth. I invite you to join with me, Reverend Ian, with each other, to create that community together this year. May it be so. Amen.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the night. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Thank you once again for joining us this weekend. It's been so good to have everyone all together, even on Zoom. It's still good. We are not alone. We are one. We close today with these words by Julian Lepp. As we go forth from here, we seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be opened to unexpected answers.